पलाश नहीं आया अभी तक, नहीं कर पाऊंगा लाइव अभी ऑन।
Good evening and welcome back to Startup Series. Product market fit is a term that refers to the degree to which a startup product or service meets the needs and expectation of its target market. I'm sure everybody must have heard this definition. Achieving the product market fit is considered a critical milestone for startups. And a lot of times when we talk to our investors or potential investors, they do ask, hey, have you achieved your product market fit? And it's always not very clear to what does it mean by product market fit. Y Combinator found that 42% of startups fail because they don't find product market fit, and many startups find their product market fit after many iterations, and some very painful ones. And just to give an example, Paytm achieved product market fit in 2016 when the government demonetized high value currency notes. Zomato achieved product market fit in 2013 when it started offering discounts and promotion to attract customers. Oyo achieved product market fit in 2014 when it started offering budget friendly hotels to travelers. In fact, some heavily funded startups are still trying to find out what's their product market fit, and it's a journey. And today we are here to understand the component of product market fit to make sure that when you walk into that investor meet or when you are building your own startups, you can convince them that your startup is worth their time and money, and more importantly, the customers. Welcome back to the Startup Series, a series where we address problems that deep tech startups face in their day-to-day challenges in running their startups. I'm Govind Kedia. I run Arctic Invent, which helps companies increase their enterprise value by way of building business-centric IPR portfolios. My company, Arctic Invent, has worked more than 1,000 plus startups from Europe, US, India, and helping them build massive value on their product and technologies. Now, everything starts with an idea. And the aspiration to do something, build something, solve something, it's all about prototypes, MVPs, and gathering the initial feedback. And once you have dialed into the needs and wants of your specific markets, it's time to scale, moving from dreaming big to scaling big. And all along the way, you are optimizing your product, fine tuning your strategies, all while trying to achieve an enigma called product market fit. That's all we are going to tackle today with the help of my guest speaker, Palash Gupta. And Palash is an alumnus of IIM Bangalore, a seasoned leader in product engineering and strategy. He specializes in expanding global capability centers for tech giants and deep tech startups in India. With more than 2 decades of experience, he successfully established global product verticals in network enterprise, consumer, and SaaS domain with more than 50 to 100 million ARR. Palash is deeply immersed in India's thriving deep tech innovation sector. He spearheads the NASSCOM Deep Tech Club, which stands as the largest deep tech startup ecosystem in the country. As a growth mentor, Palash is associated with various IITs, IIMs, government initiatives, VC firms, and is board member of Project Management Institute of Bangalore. Palash is widely recognized as thought leader in the domains of startup, product development, and project management. And a dear friend, Palash, good evening and thank you and welcome to our startup series.
Good evening, Govind. Good evening, everyone. And thanks for joining this discussion. Pretty excited to have this discussion. Thanks, Govind. Good evening.
Great. Thanks, Palash. And I am really excited to take up this topic, which is always, uh, a talk of the town in, when you go in a startup meet and, people talking about, hey, did you find your product market fit before I even think about putting money on you, right? So let's go into and discuss this. So before we take a deep dive into product market fit, Palash, I would like to have your opinion on the aspiration to amplitude journey. What has been your experience while mentoring startups? Could you briefly summarize it for us? In this particular aspiration to amplitude, what you have to share with us.
Yeah, definitely, Govind. So, obviously, I work closely with the deep tech startup ecosystem in India, right? And to nurture and to promote the deep tech startups from India is our sole motive or the sole objective, if you see. Uh, Things have changed a lot in last 1.5 years, right? And we are working tirelessly. Our startup friends are working tirelessly to overcome some of those challenges which are there, right? I mean, there were days when we, I mean, there was an year when we said that India is producing a unicorn every week, right? And then we had the last year where Indian tech industry, if you see, it has received close to 2.8 to $3 billion of funding in, you know, I mean, in the first quarter or something, which was 75% lower than what it was in a year back, right? So definitely the macro environment is quite different than what it was earlier, right? And there are the challenges of making a lab to market deep tech product in India because of the extensive scientific research which is needed for it, the sophisticated infrastructure which is needed for product validation, integration, solution iteration, whatever you have just now talked about. Obviously, the qualified talent is another challenge. The cost effective mass production of the product to establish the manufacturing facility, right? Access to global technology, benchmarking, ERR cloud cost, we know that how high it is for our startups, right? So addressing compliance, safety, privacy, all those kind of challenges which are there and which are there at the top of my mind. Added to it, obviously, as we are discussing about the PMF or the product market fit, the investor limitation to fund the deep tech startups in India, right? Because investors primarily look from the ROI and they look for those traditional financial metrics, right? The macroeconomic situation where obviously the funds are not so easily available, and somewhere obviously the big promises and the underperformance of some of our startups. So these are the challenges which we could see when we are working with the startups, but at the same time we have a very bright future. These challenges which are there at the same time, if you see, uh, there are affirmative steps on government policies, there are steps on the ecosystem building, there are steps on lot of other things and which are taking our deep tech startups to the next level. Obviously these are the temporary phases, but we have a very promising future. And some of the some of these challenges will make our startups ourselves much more mature at the global front. So yes, with the tag that yes, we are somewhere in the making or the products which are world class from India, I see a lot of such things are happening on the space technologies, on the robotics side, which were completely unheard few years back. So very bright future going. That's what I
Great.
can say.
No, great. Thank you for setting that context, and I think that's aspirations to amplitude. Definitely, I think India deep tech ecosystem is like that, and I think your observation that of course it has been difficult year so far, but I'm sure it's going to turn around. Things are always like this, sometimes in cyclical in nature. So I do appreciate and I do hope that that the deep tech ecosystem really grow to the next amplitude, so to say. Now, Like the song, they say, let's start at the very beginning. What is product market fit? Is it data? Is it intuition? Or some mystic business alchemy? How would you define product market fit, and why meaning is a non-negotiable to success? So what's your take on this?
So I'll start with the recent experience. You could see that I went for a haircut. Okay. Uh, and this guy in Hindi, he was asking the barber shop. Most of the times you will find a new person, right? And he said that, भैया कैसा hair cut चाहिए? Okay. Now, if someone asks you this question, can you really answer it so well that you will get what you really you are expecting? First thing, or are you really so clear about that what to tell? So the product market fit, just to start on the lighter note, is like a good haircut. Hard to define, but you will know it when you see it. So, anyways, that's on the lighter side because you say that when everything is perfect, that is something like a product market fit. Obviously, Mark, when he gave the definition of product market fit, he started talking about a product market fit means being in a really good market with a product that can satisfy the market needs, right? So we talk the product market fit, but obviously in all traditional definitions, the market comes first and then comes the product. Everyone is talking about a very good market and you have a good product which can satisfy the market needs, right? Now, for us as the founder, obviously this at a very abstract level, having a very good market which is not in our control, and then coming up with product and really ensuring that the product is successful, right? So we can say that for us to say that are we in the product market fit? So it is a situation, or it is rather a situation of the startup or a particular product where your product or the company's product are being bought by the target customers. They are using it, they are telling it to others or recommending it to others about your product, and in a number which is large enough to sustain the product growth and profitability. Okay, so it has lot of ingredients now when we talk about the product market fit, right? That means that the target customers, the persona which we are targeting and trying to solve a problem for that persona, are buying the product. But is that sufficient? No, that is not sufficient if the customer is buying the product. Maybe it is the after effect of lot of marketing effort, right? Maybe it is the after effect of we really underselling the product. We putting a lot of incentives. We are just maybe practically giving it for free. So buying is enough? No, buying is not enough. So they are buying it, they are using it. Now that is something which is very important. The user engagement with your product is something very important, not only buying it. I have got maybe a lot of subscription. Let's say I'm using Netflix or I'm using Amazon Prime, but maybe someone has given me 10 more subscription free. But if I'm not using it, I'm not going to really renew it in future, right? So just buying is not enough, just getting is not enough, using it, right? Is that enough? No, I could be a very silent user, I could be happy, but that may not give a good or desirable growth to the startups so that they can really scale well. So am I recommending it to others? Am I telling it to others? So these are the important points of the product market fit. And if at all that happens, are the customers doing it large numbers, and how large the number should be, so that as a company or as a startup or as a product, I should be able to sustain my growth in a profitable manner. So these are the ones. Obviously, as they say that it comes from the market, it starts from the market. It does not start from the idea, it does not start from the product, it starts from the market, right? They say that okay, if a great team meets a lousy market, the market wins. If a lousy team meets a great market, again market wins. So basically at the end of the day, it is market who is the winner, and it is about aligning your product with the market, aligning your product with the market need. So that is the whole thing, or I should say that that is a product market fit situation which we are talking about. If it is imaginary, let it be. But yes, companies do achieve it.
Mm. So, Palash, with your explanation on this, I have unrelated, kind of related question in that way is that a lot of times people get confused that with marketing I'll generate the need for my product, right? Like you said, right? The market has a need. or even if there's no need, I'll create one. So how do you kind of also fit that conversation, because it's some of the very common conversation that, hey, there is a problem that you are unaware customer, right? So to say that I will generate this product market fit, right? Could be people always giving an example of Uber for that matter, that they have made it so that they generated the need of instant cabs and so on and so forth. So what's your take on that?
Uh, so going not exactly, frankly speaking, there is a nascent need. The nascent need in case of Uber was also, it's not about the cap. Cap comes in the solution domain. The problem domain or the need which we are talking about always exist, right? So the need to take me from place A to place B in a safe, comfortable manner, and which is also not making a big hole on my pocket, is that need was always there. So Uber as a platform has solved that need. Okay, so me having need is a, it could be a very nascent need. What is most important here is that when we talk about any kind of problem or need, right, how painful is the need, how wide is the need, that is something which is very important for us to think about or conceptualize a product. So I don't buy the idea that marketing can generate the need. It is like all the efforts of marketing, all the efforts which we say that, okay, choose your channel and bring the customers closer to the product, are to make your product more accessible and visible to your target customers. Okay, so you make your product more visible, because it's not the best product which wins, it's the best known product which wins. So marketing has a lot of importance in that sense, if you see. And obviously to make the product accessible to customer is another very important aspect of when we conceptualize the business model in the channel, right? But marketing will not create the need.
Sure. And I think very important point here. So on a lighter note, should a startup pitch that I have a problem, not the solution, as their or the idea to start with, right? I think the whole conversation should be flipped in a way that I have a great problem to solve. I may not necessarily have a great product yet, but I think I have a great problem to solve. Is that a fair way to approach a startup or in a deep tech space?
Yeah, so that is one of the proven way to approach. Frankly speaking, as I was talking about just now, right? That if we have a problem, and if the problem is the proven problem, and to start from here, it really makes a lot of sense. Okay, so just to tell you, a problem has to be a qualified problem. Okay, when we talk about the problem or the issue or the overall market, when we talk about, right? So let's say that, how to say that the problem is qualified enough, right? So let's just start assuming that you and me have a problem, right? So the significance of the issue or the significance of the problem, right? Whether it causes inconvenience, frustration, right? It clear need of improvement. So how painful is the pain point is something which is very important. Okay. Next becomes that how widespread is the pain point. Okay. Like the substantial portion of the target market, whether that portion feels that problem, right? So that makes the product's potential market much bigger, right? That is one. Second is that what is the frequency of the problem? Is it that one time problem? Is it that something which occurs regularly or frequently in my life, right? So problems that user encounter on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, or on a frequent particular regular interval basis, are, it adds to the overall magnitude or the gravity of the problem, right? Another important point is whether the problem is really unsolved or under addressed. This has to be judged by a lot of iterations and understanding of the customer. At times it happens that we assume that the problem is under addressed. Maybe problem is solved, may not be at the perfect way, but that is good enough, right? And all these need to be in a quantifiable manner. So when we try to quantify, all this happens. Another thing, Govind, which is very important, is the user's willingness to pay extra to solve the problem. This is something which is very important. When we talk about the product, we talk about the desirability, We talk about the feasibility and the viability, right? So desirability comes the first point. So whether the potential customer, whom as I have a hypothesis about a customer as a startup founder or as a product leader, right? So whether that potential customer is willing to pay for the solution or not, right? Just as an example, my battery drains out, my mobile battery drains out before the end of the day, sometime in between the day, right? Now let us say that me being a normal Indian customer paying 15,000 on this mobile, right? And it is draining out, and tomorrow someone comes up saying that I have a fantastic piece for you, and it will charge you 25K, but your battery will last for 2 days, right? Now I have a problem. Maybe I'm crying about this problem day in, day out, saying that my battery is draining out. But maybe I'm solving it by 1,000 rupee extra, what we say now, extra kind of portable charger with me, right?
Mm.
I may not be ready to pay that 10,000 rupees. So the willingness to
Mm.
pay is something which is very important, right? Let's
Correct.
say we all of us complain. We travel a lot, and most of the times when we travel with the family, we complain about the baggage allowance, saying that why it is reduced over a period of time. My uh, flight ticket, why it should give me 3 more kgs of baggage or something like that. Tomorrow, if airlines start charging every ticket 2,000 rupees more, just a very which is not very high, probably many of the travelers may not be willing to pay that. So there is that, right? So the willingness to pay is something which is important. Frequency we have talked about, widespread we have talked about, the significance or how deep is the problem we have talked about. Same time, try to find a problem which is growing, right? If the problem is growing over a period of time, the way whole society system everything is growing, that will add to you, whether you call it or call it as tam sam whatever. That is something which is another characteristic of a problem, which is a candidate for you to think about a product. Which talks about this whole thing talks about the market, and obviously then all kind of competition and alternative analysis, not to take things for granted that okay, nothing exists and I am the first one in the world and all those kind of things, to come up with the differentiation part of it. So this is something which falls in that the desirability part for something, some problem to become a candidate problem to be solved.
Sure. So, very interesting question from Rohin. Often in
Yeah.
deep tech, a startup creates a new category of product, generally ahead of their time. It takes a while for an early customer to try, but it doesn't end up being the scalable solution with product market fit. It takes a few pilots, especially in B2B, before they land the actual PMF. How does a startup sustain with limited funding and resource till they get PMF? What is your advice?
So I think there is, thanks for it. I think it's a good question, or it's a great question rather, right? Now, there are a couple of things which are very important, and I was talking about it, the initial remarks also, that India, over a period of time, is moving towards that where the whole system is becoming more and more mature about this. So now deep tech startups have a long gestation period, is a known or is a given fact because of something which you have just now spelled out, right? Now, all of us have that very standard cycle to follow, where like innovators are there and the early adopters are there, and after that, when it when it has to get into the majority or the next phase of it, there is a huge gap, right? Or a very frustrating chance where like okay, nothing is happening. So first suggestion which I'll have after working with almost the uh, startups and the investors is that first, as a startup founder, don't make very big, audacious claims initially in terms of the revenue. Okay, if you have heard about, there is something called as the way we track the success on the financial terms, right? There are also the terms which are more about the innovation, your health of your innovation, okay? Or instead of saying that on financial term how successful is the company, you might have to take that, okay, whether your problem solution domain you have cracked it well or not before getting into something called as the next level of it or the growth phase of it. Okay, that is something which is very important, and why I was talking about not to make the big audacious claims on the revenue term, because once you start talking that way to your investor start assuming that you're going to hit the market in a big way, and this will change. Mind me, This will change the habit of your customers, because a lot of these deep tech products are targeted to change the way we live our life. Some of them are there where like there is a big difference in the change the way we something are doing in a different way. So there is, as I said, that there is a big chasm in between, right? To cross that, lot of education of the customer needs to be done, and at the same time lot of education for the investor also needs to be done, that it is a potential, right? But that potential will get realized only over a period of time. So I think somewhere it is very important to say that we have understood the problem well and this solution is there, but it has a lot of other challenges in terms of the technology maturity, in terms of the customer maturity, all those. Now let us say that currently there are a lot of products which are coming on the generative AI side, right? But regulatory clearances, the customer confidence on those, even if tomorrow someone sells me saying that I'm selling you a good product, it's an autonomous car, you take it. As a consumer, may not be confident enough to put myself inside the car and just go ahead with that, right? So this cycle is much longer. Naturally, it is longer, and that has to be respected. And that is how the communication to all the stakeholders should go from the deep tech startup founder also. And that is very, very important.
Sure. No, thanks, Palash. Makes a lot of sense. I hope Rohin, it helps your and answers your some part of your question. So, Palash, how a startup come to know that they have achieved the product market fit? What are the key metrics, especially when you work for startups, or when you help with them? Uh, does it have to be something around engagement, retention, satisfaction figure, revenues? And how do we track them, identify those trends? Because I think that will become a more compelling when you are talking to your potential customers or investors, so on and so forth. So any some insights on that will help our startup founders to really be prepared well for this conversation, would be a great insight.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So, if you see, there are multiple ways, both the sides, and you can put one bracket this side and one bracket this side and try to judge where you are, uh, especially in terms of the product market fit. So, first of all, the product market fit is a journey. It's not a one-time moment. It's not binary in nature. Okay, so let us understand that way. Okay, so for me to be a startup founder, okay, when I can say that okay, I'm somewhere close to that product market fit or I'm somewhere on that, is like when you and me stop wondering if the product actually solves a problem and we start wondering how we are going to deal with all the people who are trying to buy my product. Okay, so instead of thinking that whether I'm really solving the problem, when I start thinking about that how I'm going to supply the product now based on the demand, is something a really good indication that I'm somewhere going near to that. And I'm talking about organically. Whatever we are talking about, we are talking about the organically. Okay. So that is one thing where we can say. So that means that the customers are buying the product as fast as or faster than what I can make the product, right? So that is one indication that I'm assuming I'm achieving the product market fit. At the same time, if you see that if we have to ask ourselves whether I have achieved the product market fit, that means 99.99% the answer is no. Because when you achieve the product market fit, automatically comes. It's like that good joke. If I crack the joke and after that I have to explain it, that means that probably the joke was not good. Okay. Now,
Okay.
yeah, it's like you get that feel, you know it, that you have achieved the product market fit or somewhere there. But now when it comes to the measurable things, I mean some things which are really there. So positive customer feedback is one and foremost thing where we can say that yes, you're achieving the product market fit. So you're satisfied, enthusiastic customer, their testimonial, their reviews is one aspect of it, right? Your growth, revenue growth, and revenue growth organically. That means without putting significant marketing effort or the promotional effort. If the growth is coming, that means that your product is sticking, right? It's picking up. That is one. Third important point is the increased engagement, which many of us don't measure. And when I am talking about the engagement, it is like people who are buying the product, are they using it, right? Are they consistently engaging with the product? Are they spending more and more time with the product? Are they exploring more and more features of the product? Are you getting more and more queries of that product? If you are having it, there is a very good engagement. right? That is another sign that you're achieving the product market fit, right? So this is about the utilization and engagement. One thing which we have talked about is the willingness to pay, right? Customer not only using but also willing to pay. So that means that you have come up with a let's say freemium model, or you have given a free version of your product first, and later how many of those customers are getting from free version to the paid version, right? How many of that are getting transitioned from the free version to the paid version? That is the willingness to pay on your product. That is something important. Then most important one, another one is the repeat purchase, right? How many of your customers, if it's a product, are coming and buying it again and again, right? I mean, you see Parleji. Parleji need not have to define or tell to anyone that, yeah, I have achieved my product market fit. Not only achieved, consistently achieved, generation to generation, right? So this is the repeat customer. Customer is repeating it. The opposite of it, the low churn rate. That means the customers who are dropping your product, that low is, I mean, that rate is low. That is something which is important. Then you can add some more things in terms of, are you eating out some of your competitors' customers, right? You add the referral to it, and your customers are referring to others, right? The media press coverage, that is something which is on that. But going couple of important points when we talk about, make sure that it is happening organically, it is not based on the exceptional efforts, right? If you are measuring your customer acquisition cost, make sure that your customer lifetime value which you have kind of calculated is higher, if not much higher, is higher than your customer acquisition cost, right? And most importantly, you are engaging with the customer, and you are measuring, or we are measuring, the net promoter score. That means that how many of the customers are not only buying it, using it, but also promoting it and recommending it to others to buy that product. So these are
Sure.
some direct metrics which can be used to judge whether we are close to the product market fit somewhere.
Great. No, thanks, Splash. I think very, very insightful on how to really go about planning this conversation. In fact, when you are going and talking about product market fit, about your about your product or service or your startup. And I think these are the great points that we can actually use to make that happen, right? So that's great. I think very interesting question from Shekhar, but I'll park it for a while and then complete the conversation. But I'll pick it in the end in the Q&A. One of the things that people do ask, and I think we have covered a bit, but if you can give a bit more sense on that, how would you, is there any proven process to achieve this product market fit? I think a lot of answer has been given, but I still want to distill it to some kind of, I know it's not a very straight line journey. It's not like a very algorithmic process, but if you would have to recommend a process to achieve this PMF, what would be that process?
Yeah, so it's iterate, keep iterating it. So it's like that. It's definitely not sequential. It's definitely not one time. It is definitely not eternal. I mean, so to be frank, it is like you have to keep iterating. But yeah, process in the sense that if we follow a very natural or a standard product development process, that is designed based on the best practices of those companies who have succeeded. Okay. So obviously, as I said, that it starts with the target market, right? And target market is nothing but, your market means that there is a target audience and they have underserved or completely unserved needs. That is one. Then comes that we thinking about, and this is the problem domain, right? Then comes the solution domain, where we talk about the value proposition, different sets of features, and obviously that how we are going to deliver those features in terms of the UX channels and all those kind of things, right? So that is the one. So in terms of prescriptive process, if you see, it is like determine the target customer. And when we talk about the customer, we have to be as narrow as possible, as focused as possible. And that should come based on some real hard data and market research, right? And create the customer persona. And this is not final, believe me, this is not final. This is the steps we have to keep repeating, right? Then obviously comes the underserved or those needs which are not served, which we want to target, and then the value proposition. And value proposition, if you see, is nothing but how my product will meet the customer needs better than any one of the alternatives available today, right? How my product will meet the customer needs which I have identified in a way which will be better than the currently available solutions, right? With this idea, let me get into the minimal viable product, right? And when we have come to this minimum viable product, which is, just to keep it simple and doable, create the prototype, let the rubber hit the road, right? Test the MVP with this narrow set of customer. When we talk about the MVP or minimum viable product, it will be great if we also talk about the minimum viable audience. It helps. So the minimum viable audience is the same target customer, which is based on our hypothesis. Customer is nothing but a customer hypothesis at this point of time. Then I have created understanding about their pain points. We created an MVP for that, and I'm taking it back to them, right? So I have to take my MVP to the minimum viable audience, get the feedback, and iterate it again, do it again. And how many times? Maybe n number of times, right? So identify precise target customer, meet target customers, get the understanding, shape up your, decide your MVP, shape up your MVP, do the prototype, meet with your customer. And believe me, when you understand and write down the customer's pain point, again meet with your customer. When you write down the MVP understanding, again meet with your customer. So if you ask me, there is no step go in where you are not supposed to engage, understand, meet the customer. And that is something which we miss many of the time, assuming that, or because of the lack of resources, or sometimes assuming that we know it well, because any change in the later part will be much more costly. So it is about, if you ask me, first step meet the customer, second step meet the customer, third step meet the customer, fourth step meet the customer. In between, do your work, but keep engaging and meeting with the customer.
Great. No, I think
Because you're,
it's a valid
yeah,
lesson for any business, any product at any stage. I would say it's like
yeah,
keep meeting customer. But thank you. I think it kind of creates a bit more clarity around the topic, right?
yeah, that
Now,
has to be the top of the mind.
yeah. Now, having understood a bit, of course, a lot around product market fit, so to say. But as per your experience, what are the key issues or myths related to achieving this, or what is definitely not the product market fit? And you have seen startups doing this mistake most of the time. So I think that will also help people here who are listening in to not do that mistakes,
Okay,
or
so Govin,
some of the issues and myths around this.
so while starting, maybe I'll just put a disclaimer first. So I'm one of you. I'm one of us. So this is the time to be critical about ourselves. I mean, to be slightly more critical about ourselves. You're doing a great job, but these are some of those small things which we miss at times. And maybe we can make a cheat sheet, or maybe one pager where we can write it for ourselves, saying that, am I doing this or am I not doing some of those basic things, because we are carried away. I mean, as a founder, you have to be whistle, smile, and sing at the same time. It is very tough job, right? So when it comes to some of these myths, let me just start with this disclaimer that, yes, there are issues, and there are the issues which just can change the life of a startup. Okay, so obviously the first and foremost we have already discussed. At times, fail to make something which people want, okay, or enough people want, rather, right? uh, it happens that because I have experienced a problem, I may feel that yes, this is one of the big problems, right? My network is getting dropped as and when I'm making a call. This is a big problem. Let me solve it by the next technology, right? Yes, but maybe as an Indian, I'm fine with, okay, the call is dropped. I may make it again. So we have to be very, very cautious about trying to solve something which not many people want it to be solved, is something that is the first thing. Okay. And for that, just now I have talked about that we have to iterate and iterate. So that is something which is important, right? Second one, in startup journey, what happens now? We take our MVP to friends, family and friends, right? And generally we get good feedback because they come from the similar kind of setup, upbringing, generally social status as you and me are there, and they think little similar to what we are thinking, right? And we get feedback, okay, maybe my friend will give some good feedback and all those things, right? And we feel that yes, we are somewhere where the traction, we try to think that okay, it is a product market fit I have already achieved. So here the lesson is slightly different. The lesson is first pants and then shoes. Okay. So first the value hypothesis and then comes the growth hypothesis, and we get carried away. A lot of us get carried away, and we talk about the total addressable market or the TAM, saying that all this $5 billion is waiting for me to give my product or launch my product. It's the biggest mistake. Okay. So first it is important to target the value hypothesis and then the growth hypothesis. The product market fit is a combination of both of them. Okay. So the value hypothesis will just talk about what, who, and how. Okay. What are you going to build? Who is desperate for it? I'm using little strong words for the same reason. Who is desperate for it? And what is the business model I'm going to use to deliver this to the intended audience? Okay. A series of build, measure, iterations again need to be done. Okay. And this is how a PMF is built in a process. It is not a single eureka moment. Okay. I might have a aha moment of inspiration, but this is not the PMF is created. My inspiration, motivation is one aspect of it. Okay. So that is what I'm saying. First pants, then shoes. This is a natural process. Value, then growth.
Yeah.
Okay. Then when we talk about the value hypothesis, we have talked about focus on understanding what problem I'm solving and all those things. And next in the growth, I'll think about most efficient and scalable method for acquiring customer, retaining customer, sustaining the growth, all those kind of things. Fine.
Sure.
So that is first thing. Second thing is at times we confuse the product market fit with the problem solution fit. And it's a related one. So it the misinterpretation that a consumer who is in need of a solution will also desire the product which I was talking about, right?
Right.
So my solution is solving the problem does not mean that I may get a customer or a consumer out of it. Okay. So keep these two things different. Okay. I'm solving a problem is the first aspect of problem solution fit, but it may not be the products fit with the market right now, because market means it has to be desirable. Someone is ready to pay, take out some money from the pocket and ready to pay for it. I might be solving the problem, but I need a taker. Okay. So problem solution fit is a foundation which is needed, right? Because it's a foundation. It's like an alignment between the customer's need, customer's pain point, and the solution which I am doing, right? And the product is effectively solving that problem. But the product market fit is the next level of it, right? I have launched, generating consistent demand, customer satisfaction, all those kind of things, right? Which
Sure.
requires a lot of refinement. Then the another issue which is there, and it is more counterintuitive. I would like everyone to think about it, because I think this is the biggest mistake all of us do, including myself. Okay. Revenue is the leading false positive for product market fit. And why? So if you remember, we started with saying that we have a specific customer who has a specific problem and we have a specific use case, right? But over a period of time, when we start developing the product, we also want to sell it to different type of customers. You ask someone, he says that yes, BFSI is one of the verticals, media is another vertical, this is another vertical. I have four verticals and I am able to sell because I have one customer across all four verticals, right? So revenue is the leading false positive in product market fit. My friend, I think Rahul or Rohit has asked, and that time also I have talked about it. So first we have defined who exactly is the market and what is the market use case. Either stick to it or pivot it, but discipline to narrowly define the customer and the customer use case gives a very strong control on the variable of the customer acquisition and the customer success. Please hear me out. Having defined very narrowly the customer, that minimum viable audience I was talking about, gives founder a control on both customer acquisition and the customer success. Otherwise we can keep committing random acts of marketing, keep getting some revenue, that is no more product market fit. And there is a saying that founders die more often overeating than they do die by starvation. And that is not about the resources. That is not about the resources. We know that all of us as a founder are always having less resource than we need. It is about we chew or we bite more than what we can chew. So you got my point. So
Yeah.
we do a lot of overrating at times as founders. So revenue is another problem, which is a huge no if it is coming from different angles which we have not targeted, and it
Mm.
makes the part to product market fit completely messy because you don't have a single partner.
Right, right.
Okay.
I think very interesting point, and I think something to note and take away as one of the key lesson here. As we are almost out of time, so I wish I could have longer conversation, Palash, but
Yeah.
I'll probably put my last question, and then I have a few questions on from the audience. My last question for you is, how do you navigate product market fit when it is driven by trend? E-commerce was a trend, Web3 was a trend at some point. Now the generative technologies is a new trend. People are putting money, and there are a lot of money available in these things. How should startups plan their PMF when there is no historical success but a huge expectation from something? I think generative AI is one of the most recent phenomena, if so to say. So, what would be your advice to people who are actually in these kind of technology or deep tech domains, which are a bit more like a trend?
So yeah, Govind, I mean, let me answer it with the fact that probably it's a mistake when we, with most of the times when we put the trend first and then come up with the problem. So whether it is using the cutting edge or the maybe the latest technology, at the end of the day the basic is same. It's going to solve someone some problem. Okay. So if it is not solving the problem, the trend is not going to help. So product market fit, if you see, right, it is let me just try to add little bit more into it, that it is about the combination of four. One is the problem solving, we have talked it, right, but it is like market, product, channel and model. Okay. So that we put all of them together when we talk about the product market fit. So product market fit is a single term, but it is like a market product fit, it is a product channel fit, it is a channel model fit, it is a model market fit, right? So whether it is a new trend, whether it is the latest technology, if you put, there are products where the technologies come first, but at the end of the day, there are two types of products which are there which will be successful. Either it is solving a problem, or it is somewhere in the aspirational needs, right? So Facebook, was it actually solving a problem? So maybe it was not solving a problem, right? But it was intended to deliver some value, and it was delivering the value. So when we take the technology as the first and may not be the problem statement as the first, there are products where the technology comes first, no issues with that. We call it as the tech push products, right, which are coming from the R&D breakthrough and all. But here also the customer discovery is something which is the most important part of it, where like think, make, check and iterate. So when you take a technology and you have developed a minimal viable product, at the end it has to hit the road, in the end it has to hit the customer, at the end you have to take it to the target persona, and to see that whether it is solving the customer problem. If not, iterate. If not at all, then pivot. But this is how the cycle will work irrespective of which technology we are going to use.
Sure. Great. Thanks. I think now before we go to conclusion, we have a very interesting question from Sekhar Udayamurthy. Is there anything called investor market fit?
So, to answer to Shekhar, yes, probably there could be a list of more than 100 fits which are needed for that end goal to be achieved. Okay. Uh, some of these terms, if you see, as just now I was talking about, I see four most important things. One is the market, target customer, problem, alternatives, motivation for someone to buy, and the size of opportunity. These are the 5 points. Then comes the product. What is my solution? What problem it is solving? Right? What are the triggers to hook it to the customer? How I am going to take it to the customer? Value creation and the stickiness. Stickiness has to be built. Engagement and retention, which I was talking about just now. Then comes the channel, which is very, very important, which we have not talked so much in detail because we have this much time. One is that I know my target customer, right? But how to take it? Where my target customers actually hang out, right? So that is something which is important. So what channel types to use, distribution strategy, channel scalability, right? Customer acquisition cost based on the channels which I have done. And then comes the model. Model means that I am doing the value creation. How about the value capturing? At the end, all of us are doing it to make some money out of it, or at least to sustain, right? So how to monetize, method part of it, when to monetize in terms of customer journey, frequency, and all those things, right? How much to charge for it, value based pricing, cost based pricing, and all those. What is customer lifecycle value? So market, product, channel, and model, all these needs to be thought about as a single unit. And believe me, if you agree or not, market comes first, channels. If I have a product, I can't dictate the channel that for my product I need some different kind of channels. Channels are given, models are there which I have to conceptualize as part of product. So lot of things are already given to you or to me. So the products is the only place where we have to play around. So assume that it is like market, channel, model, and product fit, and then that the sweet spot comes, which is the intersection of all. And to come to the investor and market, obviously, as I was talking about, more than that, what is needed is the founder and the particular problem fit is needed. As a
Mhm.
founder, how I relate with that problem or the use case is something which is most important. I have seen founders who are related with it and then they found the way, which is not mentioned anywhere, but that founders fit with the problem statement is something which is most important.
Sure. No, great. Thanks, Palash. I think, I hope it answers Sekhar's question as well. And thank you for giving us time today to help understand something which is vital for the journey to becoming unicorn in our own right, in a way. And I always ask my guests for a takeaway for our audience. So, Palash, what would be three things for our audience they should be looking out, they should be doing to achieve the product market fit? Or just share something which you believe that would be a great value addition for them. Few things, 3 4 things which
Yeah.
you
So,
take them
so
away.
Govind, I'll just summarize it what I have just talked about, the whole thing. I mean, like all starvation, everything, whatever we have talked about.
Sure.
The summary is in just one thing that when we are into the startups, everything we do or the startup does, it should be test of a hypothesis. Okay. Because whatever we have talked about, all these ingredients, these are all lot of things which are there, nothing but the assumptions or the hypothesis which we have put into. So for a startup to be successful, we have a persona hypothesis. We have a problem hypothesis. We decide that what is the customer's problem, right? Then we have a value or the motivation hypothesis. What is valuable for a customer, right? We have a usability hypothesis. This is how the customer will use, right? We have the customer creation hypothesis. So there are a lot of hypotheses which are there and which we follow as our conviction as a founder. So everything a startup does should be a test of hypothesis. I mean, take go for hard strong yes or hard strong no. Don't get into anything which is in between. Okay, that is something which is very important. Okay, so if you want to build a startup to last, build a startup to learn. Any startup which is built to learn because it is iterative in nature is something which is bound to be successful. Built to learn. Okay, obviously, think big, start small, think big, because that is the goal which you take in the vision. Start small with the minimum viable customer. Go slow and then scale fast. But that before scaling is your moment when you say that, yes, I have got my product market fit. But initial steps, if you see, think big, start small, go slow, and scale fast.
Wow.
So that is what
Thanks.
I'll suggest go in. But anyways, could be available for any discussions, any point
No,
of time.
I think Palash beautifully summarized, and I think one of very insightful, and a lot of times when we discuss these topics, I think a lot of these things come again and again. That building a startup, building a business is a long journey. It cannot be done in a day or in a month or in just 1 year. So thank you again for reinforcing and helping a lot of founders who are listening now or maybe listening in future, is to also help them, giving that motivation. That goal is important. Think big, but take small steps all the time. Don't quit. I think thank you. It's more like a motivation talk as well. Thank you for being a motivator today. Thank you again for joining the startup series, and of course you can follow Palash through the links in the comment section. Palash, thank you, and I'll let you go now. But thank
Thanks,
you for
Govind.
coming. Thank you for sharing all this with our audience. I hope they will reach out to you and we'll be in touch. Thank you.
Thanks, Govind, and best wishes to the work which you are doing for the community and for all the startups.
Thank you.
Great work by Arctic Events. So thank you, and we'll meet soon. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for
Thank you.
spending
Thank
time.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Palash. Thank you.
Thank
So we have come to an end of season 4 of the startup series. Of course, next month is Diwali, and of course we'll be taking a lot of breaks as well. But thank you again for your support. Thank you for joining. A lot of people joined, have their questions. I hope it was useful, and we will also bring some changes in the next few months. We are also trying to. We are also, like Palash said, we are also experimenting. We are also putting our hypothesis. What helps you more? Bring more topics. Please feel free to reach out to me for any new topics that you want us to pick. And of course, follow Arctic Invent and myself for more information. And thank you once again. Thank you once again for joining me today. Have a nice week.